Hey guys, welcome back. So we are in a new workbook. So what we're looking at today is Unit 5, Lesson 4, adding and subtracting decimals with many non-zero digits. So we're looking at decimals today and the operations with them. So hopefully this will be a bit of a review from things we have done last year. So when we added and subtracted decimals last year, hopefully this will be a bit of a review from then. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right. The cost of a photo print. Here are 3 ways to write a subtraction calculation. What do you notice? What do you wonder? So hopefully you're noticing that they're lining them up in different ways. So there's different places where they've been lined up. Each case, there is one that is accurate on here. The other two would not be accurate because remember, we want to line up place values when we're taking and subtracting or adding with decimals. We have to make sure we're adding the same place value to the other place value. We don't want to add the ones and the tenths or the ones and the hundredths. That's not going to get us the appropriate answer. So the ones have to be subtracted or added to the ones, the tenths with the tenths, the hundredths with the hundredths. So the only one that's accurate here is this first one because we have 5 paired up with the 0 ones. So this would be our calculation we should do. These two will not result in the appropriate answer. So number 2, Claire bought a photo for 17 cents and paid with a $5 bill. Look at the previous question. Which way of writing the numbers could Claire use to find the change she should receive? Be prepared to explain how you know. Well, we just said this is the only one that's appropriate based on the situation. So this would be the one she'd use. She paid with a $5 bill. So technically this is 0.00. So all the place values line up, the decimals line up. So that's the key thing. Those decimals need to be in the exact same spot. And the decimal, if you have a whole number, the decimal, sorry about that. The decimal is always right after the whole number if we have a whole number. So this is the problem we should do. So for 3, find the amount of change Claire should receive, show our reasoning, and explain how we calculate it. So we have 5.00 minus 0.17. 0 minus 7, we can't do that, so we need to borrow. So the 5 becomes a 4 now. This becomes a 10, then we have to borrow to make it a 9. So this becomes 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 1 is 8. And 4 minus 0 is 4. So the amount that she gets back is $4.83. So remember, when you're subtracting, sometimes you might have to take and borrow in order to subtract. Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry. So you can never take and do 0 minus 7. We're not dealing with negative numbers. So that means you have to borrow in order to solve your problem. Alrighty? All right, decimals all around. Find the value of each expression. Show your reasoning. So we have 11.3 minus 9.5. So 11.3 minus 9.5. Make sure those decimals are lined up. 3 minus 5, can we do it? Nope, we need to borrow. So this becomes 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. Put our decimal down. And then 10 minus 9 is 1. So we end up with 1.8 for this. All right, the next one, we have 318.8 minus 94.63. So for this one, I'm gonna write that high. 318.8 minus 94.63. We add a 0 up on top to fill out the place value to where our second number is. So we always want to make sure we have the same number of zeros as we do place values in the second number added on to the end if need be. So 0 minus 3, can we do it? Nope, we have to borrow. So now we change the 8 to a 7. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 minus 6 is 1. 8 minus 4 is 4. 1 minus 9, can't do it. So we borrow, that becomes a 2. Now we have 11 minus 9, which is 2. And 2 minus 0 is 2. So this is 224.17. All right, our next one, we have 0.02 minus 0.0116. Fill out the missing. So 0 minus 6, can't do it. We got to borrow and borrow. That becomes a 1. That's 10. We have to borrow again to make it 9. So this becomes 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 1 is 8. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. Put our decimal point, and 0 minus 0 is 0. So we end up with 0 and 0, 0, 8, 4. So like I said, you have to be super careful about including the extra zeros to take and fill out for when you're solving. Oh, sorry. I don't know what's up with the yawns. So if we wouldn't have had those zeros there on this one, it would have been a little more confusing because most of you probably would have just wrote 6, 1, done 2 minus 1, and put 1, and ended up with the exact same answer as what we were subtracting by. So you have to be very careful. You have to put in those zeros if they don't line up place value wise. You have to add them to the end. Now, they can only be added to the end. We can't change the value of the number. Adding zeros to the end makes it an equivalent decimal, but it does not change the value of that number. It's still 200ths. It's just now with the extra zeros, it's 210 thousandths, which is equivalent. So you have to be careful there. All right. For number 3, we're skipping over number 2 because, we talked through how we solved and why we solved. So, all right. Lynn's grandmother ordered needles that were 0.3125 inches long to administer her medication, but the pharmacist sent her needles that were 0.6875 inches long. How much longer were these needles than the ones she ordered? So I'm going to do my work down here, hopefully. Oh, up here. So we need to compare these. So which one should we put first and which one are we going to subtract by? Well, we're going to take our 0.6875 because that's the ones that the pharmacist sent her. And we're seeing how much longer those are than the ones that she ordered, which were the 0.3125. So everything's lined up decimal-wise and place value-wise. So 5 minus 5 gives us 0. 7 minus 2 gives us 5. 8 minus 1 is 7. 6 minus 3 is 3. And 0 minus 0 is 0. So they were 0.3750 inches longer. All right, number 4. There is 0.162 liter of water in a 1 liter bottle. How much more water should be put in the bottle so it contains exactly 1 liter? So in this case, we're taking 1 and subtracting 0.162. to see how much more needs to be added. So remember, fill out your zeros to continue the place values. 0 minus 2, can't do it. We got to borrow and borrow and borrow. So this becomes a 0. This becomes 10, but we have to borrow to make the next one 10. But then we have to borrow there to make this one 10. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 6 is 3. 9 minus 1 is 8. 0 minus 0 is 0. So we end up with 0.838 liters more. That's how much more needs to be added in order to have a full liter. All right, number 5. 1 micrometer is 1/millionth of a meter. So what this looks like, I have it wrote out just to make it a little easier, is 0. That's supposed to be a point. 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. That is what 1 micrometer is, so 1/millionth of a meter. So a red blood cell is about 7.5 micrometers in diameter. A coarse grain of sand is about 70 micrometers in diameter. Find the difference between the two diameters in meters. Show your reasoning. So the micrometers makes it so that we can write it and it not seem so tiny and not have to have as many zeros. So the 7.5 micrometers, we're going to take and put 5 zeros in front of it because we have the 5 zeros here. So we're going to have 0.0034575 minus, now the 70 micrometers is going to only have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 0, 0. All right, so now we need to subtract these things. So 5 minus 0 is, oops, I wrote these backwards. Whoopsie daisies. So be super careful that you always subtract the right order because we want to take and find out what's the difference between the two. So we need to take the 70 minus the 7.5, otherwise we're going to end up with negatives. So sorry about that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 5. Fill out our zeros. 0 minus 5, we can't do it, so we have to borrow. That becomes a 6. 10, which becomes 9. So this is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. 6 minus 0 is 6. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0.0. So this right here is our answer in terms of meters difference in size. Alrighty? So lots of zeros, lots of borrowing. So that may be a case. You may have to do a lot of borrowing to take and solve these. Okay? All right. The last part, missing numbers. So we're writing the missing digits in each calculation so that the value of each sum or difference is correct. So once again, dealing with more decimals and trying to get these decimal answers. So decimal is your key word for this lesson, decimal. All right, so here on number 1, we need to get 0.404. We're going to add something to it, and we're going to get 1 whole. Well, that means that all of these values here are also 0. So 4 plus what is going to give us a 0, meaning a 10, for our value? It's going to be 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. We bring up a 1. So now we have 1. So what do we need to add to 1 to get to 10? Well, 9. That carries another 1. So now we have 5, because 4 plus 1 is 5. So what do we add to 5 to get to 10? 5. Excellent. And then that brings a 1 up.